Hello everybody, welcome back to my movie review series. Today we'll be discussing Blood Diamond. You know how we do it on these ones. I will read you the overview as presented by Google, with just any basic facts about the movie. After that I'll give you my overall thoughts and impressions. After that I'll give you my grade. Once I've given you the grade, you're going to want to shut off the video if you would like to watch the movie or not watch the movie based off my recommendation. There will be spoiler alerts. We will be discussing the plot, as well as any character development in similar movies or major themes. So I've been kind of on a geography kick lately, just trying to learn the physical locations of all the countries. And really when I was younger, I don't want to say younger, but like even when I was doing more of my math stuff, which again was pretty much like an hour, but my educational background, I really wasn't that interested in history, but kind of like in my early 20s, I would probably even say history, obviously language. Probably one of my more interesting subjects, just because math is kind of solved, it's solved. But regardless, I like any movies with a historical background, and so we did The Boy in the Striped Pajamas last time, and I found this one, and this was a popular movie released back in 2006 that I just have not seen before. So, Blood Diamond was released in 2006, it is rated R, it is a thriller/adventure, it has a runtime of 2 hours and 23 minutes. As civil war rages through 1990s Sierra Leone, two men, a white South African mercenary played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and a black Mende fisherman played by Djimon Hounsou, become joined in a common quest to recover a rare gem that has the power to transform their lives. With the help of an American journalist played by Jennifer Connelly, the men embark on a hazardous trek through rebel territory to achieve their goal. Had an 8 out of 10 on IMDb, 63% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was directed by Edward Zwick, and it did $172-ish million at the box office. So, what did I think? Google says it's gripping, somber, and moody. What did I think? I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I thought it was on the higher end of entertaining. Again, I like any historical background, so getting just some even fictionalized accounts of the diamond trade in Sierra Leone, which is like kind of by Liberia and kind of by Guinea-Bissau and Guinea in Western Africa. I'm a big fan. I like Leonardo DiCaprio. I like the Djimon Hounsou actor. He's in a lot of movies I like. Like he came on my map when he was in Never Back Down, which is a movie I thoroughly enjoyed, which we've already reviewed. So I thought the cast was strong. I've seen Jennifer Connelly, but again, I'm not the best at actors and people to faces, but obviously I do watch and review a lot of movies. So overall, I like the historical background for like an action adventure. I thought the tone was struck well I thought the relationship between Leonardo and Jennifer's characters was kind of playful fun and kind of cute romance, kind of budding romance. I thought the intensity of the action of rebel forces I think it's called the RUF, was the rebel forces versus the government was well done in terms of the action sequences and the violence. It is rated R. Not super gory, but definitely it's got blood and violence in it. Along with just watching the pan out scenes of like when they're going through the different jungles and you have some African tribal music in the background. I thought the musical score and the cinematic presentation was well done. So I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I'm going to give it a B+. I'm not going to give it an A in the A range. But I definitely recommend this one. A little long on the runtime, but it held together well. I was not looking at my phone, or I was pretty into the movie the entire time. So I definitely recommend this one. Higher end of entertaining. Could have given it an A-, but I gave it a B+, so that's what it's at. So if you've not seen the movie and would like to, you're going to shut off the video. There will be spoiler alerts. So I watched it yesterday, morning before work, and I'm reviewing it a day later, so I'm not going to get scene by scene, but I'll go through the scene as well as I can remember. You open up and you meet Solomon Vandy, played by the Djimon actor, and he has a wife, Nyada, I believe. Again, he has a wife, and he has a son, Dia, and he also has an infant daughter. And so they're in Sierra Leone. It's like 1999, I believe, in the beginning of the movie, and they're just walking. Solomon's getting on his son about making sure that he gets to school so he doesn't have to tend nets and be a fisherman like he is. And so just a young African family trying to survive. And so they're walking to somewhere, and then they start walking back, and then they get hit by some rebel forces. So the rebels, basically Solomon is able to escape I think he escapes briefly, and then Dia gets captured. And Dia, Nyada, and the infant daughter escape, and Solomon gets captured. And so then after that, you get introduced to Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Danny Archer. He is a diamond smuggler and exporter, and he is basically trekking some of these diamonds through Liberia from Sierra Leone, because Sierra Leone on the record has no diamond exports, but Liberia has, exporting tons and tons of diamonds, and they don't really have any public mines or anywhere that would get diamonds. And so you get introduced to the character Maddie Bowen, played by the Jennifer Connelly, and she's the journalist trying to tie, it's like some Dutch name, Van Dirk or Van Dyke or something, but basically they're just trying to show that there's a connection between the crime, the dirty blood, the blood diamonds, the ones that are coming from these wars and conflicts and slave labor being exported to Liberia and then being sold by this well-known English or London businessman. And so that's her prerogative. But Danny Archer, he gets, kind of the next major thing is he gets caught smuggling. So he's trying to take the diamonds from Sierra Leone to Liberia, and he basically puts it under the skin of donkeys. So he acts like he's a farmer. And so right in the beginning of the movie, he's trying to do that, and he gets captured by the army or the government of Liberia. So he gets imprisoned. He has connections on the outside. He's kind of African, and Danny he's Native African in the movie. He comes from Zimbabwe, and so he kind of reports to Colonel Coetzee, which is they have a kind of a not a loving relationship, but just kind of a business arrangement. But Colonel Coetzee was Danny, kind of brought Danny up. Danny has a background in being a mercenary, fighting, and lost his parents to violence very young, and so Danny and Colonel Coetzee kind of have a father-son relationship, but it's really just business, and Danny knows if he does anything wrong, the Colonel will just kill him. And so, again, I like the character dynamics in this one. Pretty much, there was not a single off-putting character to me. Regardless, he gets taken and he gets thrown in prison, but he's able to have some connections to help him get out. But while he's in prison at the same timeline, Solomon gets captured after him and his son and his family had to flee their village. Their village gets burned down, people are getting shot indiscriminately, and the RUF leader, who I think was Captain Poison in the movie, is basically cutting off people's hands. He's bringing up little kids, and if they're not a part of the RUF, he just cuts their hands off, because there's some slogan, it's you can't raise your hand, or there's some slogan where it's the punishment is to cut off their hands, and kind of irony or pushing back against this campaign from the government. And so Solomon's about to get his hand cut off when the leader, Captain Poison's no, he's of working age and he's capable to work, so leave him in full health and just force him into slave labor. So Solomon is then forced to go sifting for diamonds under extreme duress. He watches one other slave mining for the diamonds find a diamond and try to hide it in his mouth, and Captain Poison's spit it out, give it to me, and the instant he gives him the diamond, he just shoots and kills him. So it's obviously life or death for mining these diamonds for the slaves. And so Solomon, right as he's doing that, right as he starts a shift or his slave work, I don't really think you have shifts when you're a slave. Sorry, I was pretty insensitive. But anyway, and he finds this huge, massive diamond, the blood diamond reference in the title. And so he hides it between his toes, and he has to go to the bathroom, and he kind of sneaks away with it. He's trying to wrap it up and hide it, when Captain Poison follows him and is give it to me. And right as he's doing that, obviously knowing the instant he hands it over, he's going to be killed, a bomb goes off, or the army from Sierra Leone starts attacking the rebel groups. So Captain Poison kind of gets hit, his eye gets taken out, but he gets knocked to the ground, and Solomon is able to run away. And so Solomon tries to escape, he kind of runs away, but then he also gets arrested and thrown into this prison as well. And so Captain Poison, big, think of a really rundown prison where, there's several hundred people in a single cage. And so Captain Poison, who's injured, is kind of getting wheeled in on a cart, is yelling in front of the entirety of the group. Solomon found this huge diamond, put it on him, first person to get the diamond from him, well, I won't kill you, or I'll give you money, or whatever. And so Solomon strips naked, and is like, look, where's the diamond? Where's the diamond? So I thought his acting, the Jimon's character, was really well acted. There was no off-putting characters at any point in this movie for me. But regardless, he's just trying to stay safe amongst the other prisoners. And so Danny Archer overhears this, and that's when their two characterizations and timelines collide. And he is able to get out. Danny uses his political connections and his financial connections to get out of prison. And so he also gets Solomon out of prison. And so then they're both kind of free on the streets. Danny runs into Maddie at a little local bar. Danny has a friend that's the bartender. And so Danny and Maddie start having, kind of this, figuring out who they are. And Maddie's not super fan of what Danny does. Danny's not a big fan of what Maddie does, but they both have some sexual tension and some attraction to one another. And so they're starting to build their character dynamic. And Danny then goes back and keeps approaching Solomon, like, where is this diamond? Where is this diamond? And Solomon's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. And so Danny's big kind of prerogative, or motivation, I guess, not prerogative, throughout the movie, is he wants, there's like, they say TIA, like, this is Africa, just meaning, there's this violence, there's a bunch of monkeys on a rock running around killing each other. And getting kind of relation to the savagery and the state of the politics and the war. And so Danny he says he has some money, but he needs to have a lot more to be able to completely escape the continent in his kind of subservience to Colonel Coetzee. And so Danny's little apartment thing gets raided, and people are like looking for his money or something. And so there's a scene where he punches a dude in the gut, and he's like, I'll give Colonel his money when he needs it. It's not really sure if Colonel Coetzee has a relationship with the Van Dyke character. I'm sure they do, but it's not really well played out. So I'm not sure if it's Coetzee that raids him or the Van Dyke through Coetzee or whatever. But regardless, Danny's kind of in debt, and he's lost that load that he got when he got confiscated from Liberia. So the Colonel's like, you need to pay me my money. And so Danny's really in kind of need to team up with Solomon to find the diamond. Solomon reluctantly agrees, but as long as Danny helps him find his family. And so Solomon and Danny and Maddie all go together, and Maddie's kind of like, a hard-headed journalist that has been to Afghanistan and is really going into the heat of the conflicts to get the story. And so Danny promises Maddie to give him the exact connection between the Van Dyke, Coetzee, and the smuggling operation if Maddie helps find Solomon's family. So they're driving, and throughout the movie there's a bunch of little skirmishes of where Danny and Maddie meet. That place pretty early on in the movie or halfway through gets raided by the RUF, and Danny's bartender friend gets killed. The bartender at one point gives Danny a gun, but their whole town gets shot up and killed, and they barely escape that town as well. And so Solomon, Danny, and Maddie, they do fine. Solomon and Danny act like they're a part of the press crew. That's how they are able to get around. But they're able to find like this concentration camp, or just this refugee camp, I guess, more accurately, where all of these, the government of Sierra Leone isn't sure who the rebels are, so they're not allowing any of the captives to leave until there's a ceasefire, just for protection. And so they're kind of in this like big cage. And Solomon is super happy. He sees his wife and his infant daughter, and he's like, where's my son Dia? Where's Dia? And so another offshoot scene, Dia had been gotten captured by the RUF. So now he's being forced into to be a child soldier. So Solomon has another emotional scene. Maddie gets some pictures. Danny calls out Maddie for do you just, prey on people's reactions? And she's like, well, until I get the real details, I can't report on anything but the victims. And so another kind of powerful scene, but Solomon learns his son is with these other people, or with the RUF. And so Solomon is not allowed to enter or to meet back with his wife. I think they do meet at the very end, but the rest of the family doesn't have a big role. The wife and the infant daughter don't have much role past that. And so after that scene, they leave there. You have a couple more skirmishes. They get hit by some things. And then they kind of go to there's another minor character, like kind of a mediumly relevant character who's like housing the people. He takes the kids, and a lot of them have their arms cut off, or that were forced to be a child soldier. It's kind of like a rehabilitation center, just more like a sanctuary for kids. And so that place gets run. They're trying to drive away from that place. That character gets shot and killed. but Maddie has to get on a plane, and Maddie to Danny's like, you should get on the plane with me, and Danny and Maddie kind of have some back and forth sexual tension throughout, and Danny's like, no, this is where I'm from, and I need to do this, and meaning to find this diamond that Solomon buried. So big relevant point in this, when Solomon initially gets taken from, before he gets put into prison, he buries the diamond in this place where they were working on the camp. And so Captain Poison, like I said, he gets his eye blown out, but he's fine. He goes back to running the RUF. And Solomon and Danny kind of decide to go on a solo, just them two walk by foot and try to run into the place where they need to find the diamond. And so a little thing happens where like a couple RUF trucks drive by. Danny and Solomon are crouching in the bush, and Solomon thinks he sees his kid, and he yells out, "Dia, Dia," and it's not Dia, and so all the 12 dudes jump off and start looking for them, and almost find them. They're able to hide barely under some just brush, and then Danny makes a point. He's like, I used to skin baboons and eat them, and they're not too much different than people. And if you ever endanger my life that again, I will skin you. I'll peel your face from your head. And so Danny and Solomon continue on their way, and they find the original camp which Solomon was at, and where Dia is probably there. And so Danny calls in like an airstrike to Colonel Coetzee to scare off all the rebels because there's no way they can get past them. And Solomon's like, "Don't, Dia could be there," and Danny kind of doesn't really care, kind of. Because he's like, "There's no way your son's there," even though his son is there, and Danny doesn't know, but he's just like, "This is my only way out," type of deal. And so Solomon does see Dia, and Dia has now been fully kind of like brainwashed into the RUF, so he sides with the rebel group as opposed to his own father, and pulls a gun out on him, and then right as it's getting, Dia's around other child soldiers, and right as it's getting tense again, the airstrike comes in and starts lighting up the place. And so big chaotic scene, another violence sequence or action sequence. A lot of people get shot, a lot of people get killed. Colonel Coetzee is like, I don't care who's down there, just shoot them all. Even Danny Archer, it doesn't matter. And so action sequence, and Danny and Solomon kind of, even before this, he also gets recaptured by Captain Poison. Is like, time to dig up the diamond. And he takes him back to where it's buried, and you can see they've dug different holes trying to find it, but they're not able to. The airstrike happens, they scramble, Solomon's able to find the diamond, and Solomon and Danny try to start running away. And so Danny, during this interaction, he gets shot with something, so he's kind of, on his way to be mortally wounded, but they kind of run off into the hills. And so now they're getting surrounded by a lot of the RUF has been killed or is dispersed, and now they're getting surrounded by I can't remember if it's either more RUF people or just the Sierra Leone government, but Danny's in a position where he's imminently going to be killed. And so Maddie Brown Bowen had given Danny her card with a work number, cell number, home number, whatever. And it's like, call me when you get a chance. So Danny calls her, he's in the midst of, this rebel conflict, and Maddie's, in London or somewhere kind of nice, and thinking it's just like, hey, let's go on a date or something. And Danny's like, hey, I need you to do something for Solomon. He's going to be landing here, do this, do that. Even before, and he's like, you can write the story now, because he tells her, if I don't come out of the jungle, you can write the story anyway, because I'm going to be dead. And so Danny just doesn't want the story to come out before he can leave Africa, because Coetzee will definitely kill him. And so Danny and Maddie kind of have, a farewell conversation. Maddie realizes that he's going to die pretty soon. Solomon is able to escape with Dia, his son, and Danny has a friend that has a plane, but Danny doesn't even trust the pilot of the plane. He gives Solomon his gun, and it's like, if the dude even looks at you funny, put the gun to his head. So again, all of the Danny, Coetzee, Danny's pilot, they all just have like a strictly business life or death relationship type of deal. And so getting to the resolution of the movie, Solomon is able to go back to London or to escape the conflict. He gets offered £2 million by the Van Dyke character or his representative. Maddie Brown is able to document it all and able to break a big story, and Solomon is able to escape and reconnect with his family. So that is the resolution to the movie. Overall, get a little long, But I thought it was thoroughly entertaining throughout. I wasn't like looking at my phone or anything, but just anytime you get close to 2.5 hours or more, it's kind of a long movie. But I thought it was thoroughly entertaining. I like the cinematography, I like the score, I just like the tone of it. It wasn't really playful, it was serious, but it was still cultured, and it was still, the action sequences were good, and not a single off-putting character with some historical backing. So overall, B+, thoroughly enjoyed Blood Diamond, and I will see you on the next one.